Hello everyone, welcome back. So, time for a new update. I am really sorry that I haven't made another video in between, from the last one until this one. But I do have a good excuse and I'll explain it in a moment. These past 3 months, well, a lot of things have happened, a lot of changes. I think you can feel it for yourself, see it for yourself. For me, a lot of good things happened, a lot of changes, also some weird things, but overall it's just great. It's kind of hard to title it, but I think anew it's fitting, and I'm sure it will make sense by the end of this video. So I will start the video, the update with an update within the update. Because it is part of the eating drinking pattern. So the biggest excuse why I couldn't dedicate any time to do any videos or even write a blog post or something like that was because I was completing, I actually finished book 2. Sorry for everyone who was asked when is the book coming out and things like that. As I said a few times, certain things sometimes that are out of my control, so I just go with it. And obviously now it was time for me to finish it. But I will not focus on the book. I will make a separate video for it when the time comes. It's still like 3 months away from actually being released or something like that. So that's later. But I'm mentioning this because this is the part of the thing that has affected my eating drinking pattern in this past 3 months, and especially toward the end of this period when I actually finished the book. So when I finished this was like 2 weeks ago or something like that. Until then, until that point, another 3 weeks when it was really, really intense. So my eating drinking pattern was affected, as this transmission, or as these things wanted to come in, and the way they want to come in forced me to consume more than I actually like to. But I still managed to have my dry mode in a different way, but I still had the minimum that I usually have in a week. But as I said in the previous update, this is not my focus because I was already told that this is not your focus right now, you have to do this, this and this. Also, I mentioned that sometimes eating is, besides helping me to take something from here and move it here in a lower energy reality, to anchor it, also helps me to identify those things that are trapped at certain lower level of energies inside myself, so I can clear them. So that's with double purpose. This forced eating at certain times, of course, followed by periods of time where I just couldn't hear, see. Please don't tell me about food because I can't. After I finished the book, I went straight into a 3-day dry mode directly. I just straight away. It felt like such a relief after that. But then again, it didn't feel that much different as I said, for me, cleaning myself inside myself in dry mode, or when I would consume something, has merged, these two realities have merged, and it feels more equalized, although there is always a little bit of this adjustments when certain things are shifting and changes happening, so that is what's annoying. So in terms of eating drinking pattern thing, not a lot has changed. It's just it has been affected especially for like 3 weeks intensely by me having to finish the book. And then the pressure was just taken off my shoulders, and I was like, oh, fine, I can breathe, let me be. So, and then I could go back to my normal schedule, so to speak. Why did I say last time that is not my focus? Well, obviously there are things to be done to clear certain things, but it's more than just that. It's because you see right now this period is a period of transition, and there's still a lot of adjustment, and I know that will come a time when this won't be needed. I mean, the eating drinking won't be needed because it won't make sense. So I don't fight it, I don't judge it anymore. I do have my dry mode, I do have my experiences, I share my life with people and do certain things. So I maintain a certain balance, as in like I'm doing that and I'm doing that as well. But I know it will come a time where even the world will change enough that, but my life will be less pressure. It's just a lot of things will happen that it won't make sense for me to actually even do that at all, because by then I would have other things that my existence would move towards too. I don't want to go into there, but maybe some of you might get what I'm saying right now. Anyway, so that's about it with the eating drinking pattern. By the way, to actually make this video, it was quite a challenge, because I tried to film it yesterday being the day before I'm filming right now, and my camera died. There was a storm. There was a storm today as well. I'm actually going to insert some images here today, so I had to wait a few hours. Anyway, yesterday was a crazy day, so I had the choice of either filming with my vlog camera, and I said no, it's the light is not necessarily helping. Anyway, but so I had to go and get a new camera, which was quite an operation, and obviously if I'm filming right now, it was successful. So yes, this video hasn't been easy to make. It's quite expensive. Anyways, so that's a little side information. Another thing, so sorry if this seems a little bit like random and scattered. So there's a lot of changes inside me as always. If I'm saying, okay, I've reached another level, for some of you might mean nothing. For some of you will understand that, would feel that. There's constant change inside myself, and there's a lot of drilling inside my head and all sorts of parts of the body and things like that. And that's another reason why it's not always easy to film, because when these start to just work, it's really hard to maintain focus, and yeah. So that's another thing that would hinder my attention, and that's why I said it's like I can't do that and that. So I just focused on delivering that, which is much more important. I mean, to finish the book. Something very interesting happened a few years ago, which kind of like came to a conclusion now. So before I did the Buddharian process, I think I mentioned in a video, think energetic shift or something like that, I'm not sure anymore. You can go and check it out. It's an older video where I said that was like the spring before the Buddharian process was. So it's the moment where I call it like the threshold when I enter positivity, and it's not like before that I was negative. It's like a layer plasma thing has like emerged around me, and because of the clearing and the work that I did before, until that point, so I reached a threshold, and from that threshold, for me, me going into negative situations, like negative thoughts and like dwelling on those things, couldn't be like before. Like those things couldn't detract me, derail me like before. The amount of time spent in that type of like frequency would lessen with time. So would always go back to balance or higher states. So that was a very important moment. But with that moment, another thing has happened. My entire life, I've been somebody that, I have a lot of male energy. So that means I am electric by nature. And that was the moment where the feminine side kicked in more and kind of like started to balance things out, or I felt like my male energy was blocked. Because until then, my life was one of action. I had to do things. I had responsibilities, stress, things, whatever, managing things, a lot of big, important things. And that was necessary, or at least in those environments with those people, that was necessary for me, and that helped me a lot. So I'm very thankful to it. But when this change happened, I felt quite like handicapped, lost, because I didn't know how to use that. And it sounds weird to say, oh, so you don't know how to use your feminine side. That's strange. I told you I do not consider myself just a woman. I consider myself androgynous because I never felt like I belong here or there. I'm just always in the middle. But in that moment, it like both sides were equalized, and all of a sudden the male side kind of like disappeared, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do now? How am I supposed to? It's like somebody took said, from now on you're going to manage your life with one hand and with one leg. And I'm like, you're kidding me, right? It's like, how am I supposed to do this? For me, until then, you have to understand that it's not that I actually have denied my feminine side or things like that. It's just, for me, it was part of my creativity, my intuition, all sorts of like delicate, gentle things, processes inside myself and stuff like that. But then it was more than just that, because I know there's a lot of talk about the feminine side and all this, the glorification of the feminine right now. And my perspective is one that it's more than just like this, I explained to you, I don't do that. It's one that it like forced me to see how this thing actually works, because feminine energy, it's not just about creativity, intuition. It's actually it's definitely it's a softer, subtler energy. It feels quite, for me, I felt like really invisible for a long time. Because of that, I just felt like my voice wasn't heard at all. Because of that, I genuinely feel really lost when that thing emerged inside myself. And it was very foreign to me, that energy. But as things cleared inside myself and all other processes took place and other things transformed inside myself and continue to do so, I was shown how to work with this energy, and it's hard to describe because it's not something what I read before, or it was like when you read on all this information online about the feminine energy, how the feminine principle is, and that it's still different what I experience. And I see the qualities, like feminine energy is one that it's a very good administrator, organizer, creates structure as well as male energy, but it's different. It's like it has its own timing. It's non-linear. It's very interesting. So that's why it was very hard for me to get used to it. This was really never part of my entire life was weird, but in the sense, but it was just a lot to adjust to for me. But as these things, as what I was saying in, I think more than 3 years ago, as I was starting to be shown this language, I would see everything as language. It started to make more sense. And why it's so hard for me to explain certain things is because it's becoming so abstract that it just, you have to have the same thought process as I have to see those things, to understand those things. So that's another thing that has happened throughout this time, and now has come to a point where a lot has been cleared. It's like now I overcame this expected levels of what's known. I don't know how to explain this better. It's really hard because it's beyond what even I knew or I thought I knew, or it's a new level. I don't know if any of you can feel something different, but that's how I feel. Not just how I feel, just how everything inside is. Also, as I said, there's still a lot of these changes, and when they happen, they're very annoying. A lot of eliminations, sometimes it's hard. But combined with this, with feeling like sometimes lost, well, especially from a year ago, I could say, was not easy. It's complicated with this energy. I'm sorry to ramble so much about this, but I think it's because it's something that has affected me so much. But then again, it hasn't diluted my male component, so to speak. It just made it. I feel both of them, but I feel them in a different way. And I cannot contest either side. Both sides are beneficial. Both sides have to do their own job. It's been quite a lot of adjustment. And now, since with all these changes that happened, especially in this past month, July, that's been quite intense and pushed everything to another level. In regards to the feminine energy, the things that I was mentioning earlier, something else happened, but I think it's more than just that. Is that one of the biggest problems that I had, growing up, I guess, and not just growing up, in life in general, before the depression, before death, before everything, was I couldn't really cope with cruelty. I mean, I had no problem with hardships and things like that if there's adversity, and I have no problem with those things. I can deal with those things. I know when I need to fight. I know when I'm not supposed to do that. But I never really understood cruelty. To be like somebody in a position where you can destroy somebody just because you can, or you want to do that just because you can. And the reaction that it happened to me in various moments in my life was that this thing, when I would see that in somebody else that I felt like was threatening my existence somehow, just because they could and because they were in a position of authority, it would freeze my power. It would just paralyze me, and it would send a message to my head that would say, like, from here you cannot move forward. It's done. You can't. And usually I don't accept that message. I always but there's another way. There's another way, and I always find a way. But there are these moments where, like, with this kind of people, this kind of situation, where they would send this message to me and they would say, that's done. That road is closed for you. You cannot move forward from here on. And because I was somebody, fine, I will find another way, and then I will find another way. I will do things, and I will get further, and then I would encounter another obstacle or somebody else in a similar position like that would do the same thing. And I would be like, but this doesn't make any sense. And I would always feel like, fine, okay, have it your way. Here, have it. I'll just move a little further away, and then I start building my own stuff. But then I would have again another situation where somebody would come and just destroy that because they can, or because they want to, because they want what I have, or something like that. And because I don't like to destroy people and I don't want to hurt anybody, but that doesn't mean I was weak or I wouldn't fight back or something like that. It's just naturally I don't like to create conflict in this sense. I will fight if I have to, but normally I am a peaceful person. I just mind my own business, and I let other people be, and other people live their lives and support others in their dreams, in their things. And I think that there's a place for everyone under the sun. So that reaction to certain situation like those in the past has changed completely for me. So to give you a little taste of these things that kind of tortured my existence, I was in secondary school, I think 6th, 7th grade, I'm not sure anymore. Anyway, so I had this teacher that she didn't really get me, like me. Not because I was a bad kid or anything, actually I was a good kid and I had good grades in general and stuff like that. Anyway, so a day before that I helped my mother clean. It was, I think, spring cleaning or something like that. Even back then I was big on cleaning. I did my homework, but I forgot to do a drawing for biology or something like that. And I did that during her period. And she was busy with a student at the front of the class. They were talking, and I was paying attention to both of them, what was being said. So it wasn't like I was just drawing and then I would ignore everyone else. Anyway, but she spotted me, and I had to tell her what I was doing, and then she said it's unacceptable, and she said if you cannot answer, if you cannot say what has been just said here, then she's going to give me a bad grade. And I told her what was being said, and then she said, you are not Napoleon, sit down, and then she gave me a really bad grade. Just like that, just because she could. Just because she couldn't accept that maybe I was multitasking, and yeah. So she was really intolerant toward me, and she just couldn't stand me, so to speak. I didn't understand why in the beginning. I understood later why. Also, I was somebody that I did a lot of sports back then. I was playing tennis, running tracks, riding my bike, and it happened that during my bicycle rides throughout my neighborhood, I would just pass right by her where she lived, and sometimes she would spot me, and sometimes she would tell me, oh, I saw you with your bike, and I was like, yeah, and what have I done wrong? So something like that is like kind of like in an accusing tone, and I'm like, I'm riding my bike, what's your problem? But later I found out that she had a daughter, and she had kind of like problems with her because she was also a rebel, but obviously we're a different type of rebels. And I think she associated me with her daughter, was creating problems for her. But I was told about this a colleague of mine who lived close where she lived, and she was friends with her daughter or something like that, and she found out, and whatever, she told me those things later. So she just projected her own dissatisfactions, her own whatever problems, fears on me, because I had the same, I don't know, energy, or she found similarity. I was a mirror, I guess, for her to see certain problems in her as well, but she couldn't see those things. She just saw a problem. That yeah. Anyway, and this kind of attitude in life, these things where I could see that somebody can do that to my life, to affect my life in that way, to destroy me just because they can, because they're in a position of authority. Little by little, they just killed confidence in me, because I've always been a confident person. I wasn't just like, oh, I'm arrogant and whatever. No, I know who I am. I know what I can do. I know that I can learn. I know I can do this and that. It's like these kind of people were meant to just show me, it's like, oh, okay, let's see how you can going to manage from now on. So yes, I had a lot of those people. Of course, I had a lot of good people as well, but people like that could just do nasty things just because they can, they were, for me, I have to avoid this kind of people. I don't want to spend my life with people like that. And I met this kind of people professionally later in life, in other situations, and but if life is like this, but I love my profession, I love to do this and that, but I don't want to do it like these people or like that person. And it forced me to like somehow like retreat a lot and say, to the point like, I'm not going to do this anymore, because what's the point if I'm going to always have to meet somebody or do this or whatever, and we have to fight, or there's an ego thing there, also trying to steal my marriage or something like that. It just is complicated, and what's this? So that was the thing that really had affected me a lot on this side, and it kind of like took away from my confidence. But because all these things have healed, all these things, a lot has changed, and it's not the same world anymore for me, or life. It's like now I'm shown how to information, how to adjust it, how to see it. Not anymore like forcing myself to see it in a different way, but I'm just like seeing it, how to solve that or how to change a situation. It's more than just, it's very different than it was before. It has changed how my mind works. I told you, like, this change has happened already for some time now, but it continues, and every time I reach another level, I see, oh wow, so now it's another level, and then I'm again saying, oh wow. I don't know if this makes sense, but I just want to point this out because it's an important threshold that I reached, where certain things that would block me and would just like in certain really stressful and like felt like it's blocked forever situation, now I would just maybe 5 minutes I would be affected by it, and then I'm like, my mind would say, no, it's not true. Here why? It's like here is how we're going to do this. That's huge. That's really huge. So that's another important thing that has changed. Regarding this new reality, I can feel it every day. I can spot it every day. It's not anymore showing up a day or two and then disappearing for a while and coming back. It's every day now. A lot of these events, Portal Day, through these eclipses, a lot of things, a lot of energy has come true, and it's changing everything so fast. And if you're riding the wave, and if you're cleaning and doing all this stuff, you will be able to notice even more of it and things inside yourself. But if you're just sitting on the sidelines and just expecting things to fall from the sky, you're not going to really benefit from what's actually happening. Eventually, everything will come obvious, even for those that right now aren't aware of any of this. But still, the work needs to be done. You cannot escape that. You still have to do that. And that's why I emphasize that. That's why I'm telling you here or in private messages, whatever, you can't avoid this. And if you think that you can do this without doing that, then, as I said, that's lying to yourself, and that's not really something that I do or I advise or something like that. Anyway, so this new reality is here, and the clearer you get, the more you start to experience it. Also, there's another plane of reality that it's something that I experienced my entire life. I won't go too much into it because it's something that I put later in other books. But more and more, that thing is present as well. I feel it with every fiber of my being. It's something that it's part of me, and it's so magical that it's here, and it's not anymore just scattered moments throughout my life, or yeah. So that's another thing that has changed. The constant flow of energy made this presence to be something, constant. It's not anymore just moments of this and whatever. So that is also really big. Another interesting thing that I was shown, I was shown a lot of things, but just a few highlights. I don't know, recently I was shown this thing, giving is receiving. I told you that I'm thrown inside concepts and ideas and truths and stuff like that, pieces of wisdom, and then I'm shown what they are. And one of them was giving is receiving. And I know that from the outside, this thing where most people focus on giving on receiving, it's actually geared toward like the material. Everyone wants to fix their lives, and I understand that from a certain perspective. That's what you are interested. But at the absolute level, so to speak, you'll understand that giving is receiving. It's kind of like a law. Which means that source gives itself, creates concept ideas, and through those things it gives itself experiences. So by generating an idea, a concept, you give yourself experiences. That's the best I can describe, although, as I said, to really understand this is to actually be at a level where this becomes a living truth inside yourself. So that's the best I can describe this. Another thing is that when I experience oneness, because I don't stay there all the time in that absolute oneness, but when I experience that, strangely enough, this doesn't feel, as I said, I'm connected, I'm one with everything. It feels like everything is me. And also there's a sense of aloneness. You feel like you are the only one. That's it. There's nobody else, nothing aside from yourself. So that feels kind of like alone. As I said, it's paradoxic. It's just paradoxes everywhere. So that's also another thing that I've been shown. A lot of the spirituality for me is being like shown for what it is, and it's kind of like being demolished. That's why I'm presenting to you in such a despiritualized way, because this is what I'm being presented myself, so I can actually access the truth, not just this to build like an icon, like a pedestal where you put something there and it's like, no, you have to see for what it is in order to access it, in order to use it, to create yourself a better experience, a life experience. Also, I have to mention that this transition where we're like, well, not humanity, this humanity is coming from this era of like being asleep and unconscious, basically. This will not take forever, and what is understood today as spirituality will disappear eventually, because life will be lived from the truth, from what we are. So that's when actually humanity can really live life from that, and there's no need for what was today understood as spirituality, and actually be more spiritual and doing this and doing that, because it will become redundant. It's like, what are we talking about? This is something like you learn to walk. Everyone is doing that. What are you talking about? So that's another thing that is coming. Another important thing, although I have mentioned this before, is that I seem to outgrow everything, every pattern of life, and there's been layers and layers, and like as I moved actually in energies, like as I move up the spiral, you see everything changing. The same thing appears in a different way as the energy grows. And at times for me it's very hard to like stay connected to this reality. I explain that it's like trying to fit in I'm a size 20, trying to fit in a size 2 piece of clothing. It's not going to happen. And there was another reason why I actually had to sometimes eat more in certain days, moments, so I can come back here and then do what I need to do, because I still need to do things in this reality, obviously, as things shift and transform as well further. So in this sense, it's quite challenging at times. Also, as I said, for me, life is just patterns. I see patterns. Now it's even more clear because I can see the layers of information in things. It's very interesting and strange at the same time. And as I was saying earlier, that my mind is doing very interesting things right now. I won't go into all those things, abilities and stuff like that. It's not really safe. But I'm just going to say that my mind can do things that couldn't do before. Always changing, always discover, oh, I can do that now. Wow. So that happens as well. It's like I'm breaking a lot of barriers, demolishing it inside myself, and all the things that I could say no, or this is, well, no, it's more than just that. So that is changing intensely all the time, and especially in these 3 months where there's been so much energy, and since the eclipse, also this last part, the last one on the 27th, actually this was much more intense because it brought forward certain things that I needed to clear, not the deeper level things that I had to claim from before. Actually, throughout this time, I was doing that. I was claiming parts of myself, but at the same time, another thing was happening. Parts of myself that basically, I don't know, I let them die, or they died before, I mean, through depression, through that, whatever, when I was going down in life, so to speak, energetically, when I just hit the bottom. So a lot of those things disappeared at that point in me. And now certain parts of that former self came back online, but different. They're not the same, because I'm not the same. They work in a different way, but I'm always, every day, excited to discover, oh, I remember that I could do that I was like that, and those are just online again, but they're different. They work differently now. So that's also exciting. So parts of myself that I thought I lost forever, they have come back. And that's also very interesting, but in a different way, as I said, sorry to repeat myself. But also this was possible because I did this work of claiming myself, all the things that I let go, because I accepted cruelty, I accepted this type of behavior from people, that that kind of like I accepted the truth and saying, what's the point? So yes, that has changed in a major way. Overall, has been a period of a lot of things have ended. There's other parts of myself that have been purged and cleared out of my system, and other parts coming back online that I thought I'm never going to have those things. I even forgot about those things. Also new parts of my new identity and abilities and stuff like that. So I think that's why it's anew. It's a lot of ending and beginnings, and but in a different way. And I think that's what sums it up. I mean, this whole 3 months, well, a little over 3 months period, that there's the new light, there's more energy, there's new things that haven't been before, even inside myself. There's just new things. I don't know if you can actually see this or feel this. It's just, it's new and it's great, and I cannot wait for what's to come. Yeah, sorry if I rambled today and I seem scattered or something like that. It's just, there's a lot of information that it's non-linear, and it's hard to just like sometimes to make sense of it. Anyways, I hope this was helpful, and yeah, I will see you next time. Ciao.